How's it going, everybody? Nico from OneShot here. That is definitely not a hint to a video that I'm planning on making at some point in the very near future. Definitely not, wink wink nudge nudge. But yeah, anyways, today we are returning to one of our absolute genuine favorite individuals here on this hellscape known as YouTube, and that is, of course, our good friend Harman fucking Smith. Yeah, I know, we're talking about him again, but that's mainly because, well, there's not really much else to fucking talk about as of recently. I mean, well, I could talk about the fact that YouTube has once again showed their goddamn double standards when it comes to other reaction content channels. That might just have to wait because I don't know, I just don't feel like making a video about it right now. I don't know how to explain it beyond that. But hey, whenever the well is dry, it's always good to, you know, come back and take a good old-fashioned look at, you know, individuals such as Harman Smith, because they are always there with flaccid takes for individuals like myself to very easily rip into. And there were quite a few that were released over the past, like, couple weeks that I genuinely find interesting and that I want to take a look at some point. But this one especially caught my eye today. This one titled, Baldur's Gate 3's sales numbers are obviously fake, and I can't wait to see how he tries to make this claim make any sense. So without further ado, let us sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, and let's just dive right in.
Last week, there was some interesting news that came forward. Someone sent me a link suggesting that Baldur's Gate 3, the game that the gaming industry is trying to convince us is the biggest game released this year, has sold like 21 million units or something.
Honestly, that's actually kind of impressive. And when it comes to your entire claim of, oh, the gaming industry is trying to push it as like this, you know, fucking grand release or anything along those lines, I wouldn't exactly say it's the gaming industry, it's just people who have actually played the fucking game and know what a good game is. Like, I don't know. Again, Harman Smith, I understand that you being able to comprehend the idea that there are people out there that enjoy games that aren't made by Nintendo and aren't available on the Nintendo Switch. I understand that that concept is very fucking alien to you and you think that it's like a paradox for some reason. But, spoiler alert, buddy, that's just the real world. That's just the world that we fucking live in. People, sometimes look at your fucking, you know, shining golden boy and want to fucking strangle it. And honestly, when it comes to those people, I don't blame them.
I investigated it. There was like an official report, and I was just like, okay, whatever, not a big deal. It's still not that great of a game. It's not that interesting. It'll be forgotten by like next year.
Yeah, isn't that what you literally said about Elden Ring? And well, what do you know? Not only are people still talking about Elden Ring, probably because, well, I mean, supposedly the DLC is going to be coming out at some point soon. Soon with a big trademark right next to it, if you understand that reference. But not only are people still talking about Elden Ring, well, people who have played the game and genuinely like it, not only are they still talking about Elden Ring, but, well, people like yourself who, for some reason, had a massive hate boner for Elden Ring just because it was popular, people like yourself are still fucking talking about it, so you alone are quite literally proof against whatever the fuck statement that you have stated back then about Elden Ring. You're probably once again going to be Exhibit A when it comes to evidence against this claim of Baldur's Gate 3 being forgotten next year, because I guarantee fucking to you he's probably still going to be talking about it next year, regardless of whether or not it even wins Game of the Year.
That's always what I've been maintaining. That's always what I've been saying. Like, Baldur's Gate 3 is not that big of a deal. It is the new Elden Ring, right?
Wow, case in fucking point. I literally did not know that he was going to be following it up by mentioning Elden Ring. What do you goddamn know?
And the more I looked into it, like, the more I realized that, like, you know, I saw people on 4chan talking about this.
The fact that you're getting your information from fucking 4chan already tells me more than enough about your research integrity.
I kind of looked into the situation more, and I began to realize that there were big discrepancies with the numbers, right?
And I can guarantee you that you probably aren't going to be presenting anything. You probably aren't going to be presenting any numbers or visuals, or probably as per usual, there probably aren't any sources in the description of this video. Hang on, let me check. Maybe he's actually decided to change that. Oh no, never mind. It still doesn't display. It still displays absolutely fuck all in terms of actual sources. It's just more links to his shitty books. Okay, never mind. Checks out.
Steam Spy is the only, or one of the only outlets that's reporting the 21 million units sold, right?
Hang on, let me actually quickly fact check you on that one. Okay, well that's from August 19th. 5.2 million units sold on Steam. October 25th shows approximately 21.22 million copies of Baldur's Gate have been sold on Steam. Once again clarifying that that's just the Steam sales numbers right there. Unfortunately, I am not seeing any numbers relating to any other platforms that Baldur's Gate 3 is on. Because I'm pretty sure that Baldur's Gate 3 is on a few other platforms, at least I would assume it is. But, I mean, no shit, Steam is going to be the only source referencing that because, well, from what I've looked up, every single source that also repeats the 20-something million, sales numbers specify that those are the sales numbers on Steam alone. That is just the Steam sales numbers. That isn't even taking into account the sales numbers for other platforms that also have Baldur's Gate 3 on them. Like, that isn't even taking those into account, like, in the slightest. So, no shit, it's going to be from Steam because that's where that number comes from. That's the sales numbers on Steam.
Everyone else is like reporting 5 or 10 million. Like, the numbers are all over the place from all these different sources.
Well, I mean, to be fair, from the research that I did, they were all over the place, but that was mainly because of the fact that they were, like, being noted down and reported on at different points in time, so of course they're gonna be kind of all over the place from the first fucking page. Like, literally, the most recent one that I could find was from October 25th, so yeah, that's saying something. So, of course, it's gonna look like it's jumping all over the place because, well, that's just how Google fucking functions. It just throws a whole bunch of shit that's somewhat related to whatever the hell you're trying to look up, and it doesn't really take into account anything recent.
No actual officially released numbers from Larian or from some other official source. Like,
so wait, a platform that exists that has Baldur's Gate 3 on it isn't an official source for sales numbers of said game? I'm gonna need a minute to fucking process just how stupid that is. What?
Numbers, this figure of 21 million, it seems like it was completely made up.
And your source on that one is?
Like, they completely pulled this number out of their ass, and, like, they used it to try and, like, generate some kind of interest or hype. You know, now that, like, the hype cycle for Baldur's Gate 3 is over.
Once again, I'm gonna have to ask for, like, a source or, like, anything that could even try and justify this point. Like, you haven't provided anything other than just, my sources, I said it, therefore just trust me, bro.
Like, they tried convincing us that this was, like, one of the year's best-selling games when, you know, Zelda managed 18 million units, like, in a month.
Okay, and, like, I feel like that's not, like, the actual point of, like, announcing the sales numbers or even reporting on them. I mean, sure, maybe some sources are probably reporting on it in order to make it like, oh my god, this game is, you know, an absolutely fucking big deal, surpassing a whole bunch of these other games this year and, you know, whatever else. But, like, I guarantee you, most of them are literally just reporting on it because, hey, this looks fucking insane, let's take a look at this and just, you know, report on this because these are crazy-ass numbers.
Right? Like, it had that much by June. You know, it's far surpassed that by this point. I have to wonder just what exactly are they trying to pull here? Is Steam trying to make their service look more desirable? Because I can tell you that there's no way that it sold that many units on Steam because Baldur's Gate 3 is the highest selling game on single player game on Steam. Well, there are other games on Steam that have like temporarily gone above like Baldur's Gate 3, right?
I mean, my main question, at least before he elaborates even further, is like, how did this go from like Baldur's Gate 3 attempting to make itself seem better to Steam apparently trying to make their service seem more desire. It just doesn't make any sense. It just seems like you're just coming up with like a whole bunch of random conspiracy theories just on the fly, which, I mean, to be fair, once again, really isn't like off-brand when it comes to a fucking Harman Smith video. This man is just constant conspiracy theories, thinking that like every other game studio is like trying to kill Nintendo for whatever fucking reason, when in reality every game studio is working against every other game studio equally. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like it just kind of seems like clinically insane. I'm not understanding what it is you're trying to throw at me here.
Like, we have a general idea of how much like Baldur's Gate 3 has been talked about, and you know, how much it's sold and stuff like that. The 21 million units like doesn't seem realistic.
And somehow similar numbers from Tears of the Kingdom does seem realistic. I mean, like, by your logic, neither of these, like, you know, numbers should make any kind of sense whatsoever, but of course, you're going to discount the numbers from one side and try and scrutinize the numbers of the other side just because you don't like the other side, and there's no other reason beyond there.
You know, like, I would have said, like, maybe half that, like, at most, right? Like, before this number came out, and I really do suspect at this point that this is another Horizon Zero Dawn situation in which a company that's trying to sell trying to sell their brand, right, to customers who are trying to like establish themselves, are like straight up making up numbers to try and like push their new IP as like the big thing, right?
Okay, so in this case, is it Steam making up the numbers, or is it the Baldur's Gate 3 like publisher or developers making up these numbers? Because you've yet to clarify which one. Like, you seem like earlier you stated that it has to be Steam making these numbers up in order to try and make the platform seem more appealing. Like, I am not really sure which one you're trying to claim is making up these numbers here, and for what actual reason. Like, I mean, I know nothing about what he's talking about here when it comes to fucking Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, I've looked it up. It's doesn't really appeal too much to me, but like, I really do not understand what he's talking about here, and I can guarantee you it's definitely not the same case. It's probably just well, what do you know, people enjoy Baldur's Gate 3 because it looks fun and they want to try it out. Like, again, it doesn't take a fucking astrophysicist to figure this out.
Horizon Zero Dawn like allegedly sold like 20 million units, right? That number was completely fake, right? Like, it was not realistic at all. Like, they bundled the game in with like a bunch of different PS5s. It was the only thing you could get a hold of for a long time. Forbidden West didn't do anywhere near as well, right? Because there was no interest in the Horizon brand, right? Like, it just didn't become all that popular. And with Baldur's Gate 3, like, I'm getting a lot of the same vibe, where this game had an astronomical shilling campaign, you know, about on par with like what Cyberpunk Edge Runners got last year and No Man's Sky got like the past several years.
Here's a funny thing, like, I haven't seen like anything like leading up to Baldur's Gate 3 being released in regards to like trying to hype it up or anything along those lines. Like from my end, it just kind of came out of nowhere and people were talking about it. I mean, maybe he's right, and there was like a ton of advertisement for the game in order to try and hype it up, but like, from what I've seen, and I've even looked stuff up, from what I've like searched, it doesn't really seem that way. Like, maybe there was like one trailer, I think, maybe two, before like the game was released, but like outside of that, like, people just heard of the game or like were already hyped about the game beforehand from maybe seeing some of those trailers, and they just enjoy the fucking game. Like, again, I understand that that's like that's like some sort of like insane concept that people can enjoy other games that aren't from Nintendo, but like, welcome to the real world, Harman Smith.
Big shilling campaign. It had like this all of these YouTubers like shilling for the game and calling it one of the best of the year. You had like all of this, like all these like review scores, like just lavishing praise on the game, like trying desperately to get that thing to have a higher Metacritic score than Tears of the Kingdom.
I'd like to see some proof of anything that you tried to claim. I feel like I've said that a lot in this video. Me just asking for a source, but I know I'm never gonna get one, and his source is his ass.
Like, you have so many like known frauds like Jim Sterling and like you know, like dedicated CRPG like outlets trying to give this game like a perfect score, ignoring all of its numerous flaws, ignoring the degeneracy, ignoring like the poor story and the fact the game isn't nearly as good as something like Shin Megami Tensei. Like,
This is once again coming from this guy who has even himself admitted that he didn't even actually play the game whatsoever, and he's just making this shit up. He probably hasn't even looked up anything about the game and has only heard about certain things within the game from just like other people who are also part of his fucking echo chamber. Jesus Christ. I feel like I'm just gonna... I think I'm just gonna end it off right here, because I feel like I'm probably gonna be repeating myself way too fucking often. But, yeah, what did we learn today? Well, Harman Smith is still fucking insane, and, that's about it. Yeah, anyways, guys, if you guys enjoyed today's video, please consider leaving a like. That's very well appreciated. Leave a comment down below what you thought about the video, what you want me to talk about next, and also subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want to see more content such as this. Also, go ahead and follow me on Twitter, and go ahead and join the Discord server down in the description below. And, yeah, anyways, guys, this has been Sandy, and have yourselves a nice day.